Nerglings, welcome back to class. Last lesson we learned about what the character classes and ascendancies look like in PoE. But before I forget, don't you forget to subscribe to the channel and face smash that thumbs up button. You know it's good for ya. I don't know why I do that. Also, check out the stream Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday at around 4 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time. I'll be live on Twitch each of those days, all week, every week, forever and ever, amen. Next 100 years, Rick and Morty, 100 years.
Rick and Morty forever and forever 100 years, Rick and Morty.
Anyway, if you have any questions or you'd like to, hang out, pop by, watch some gameplay, feel free. Now today's lesson is about setting up your UI, your loot filters, and to give you some useful websites that'll help you learn and grow while you're playing PoE. And also how to hump! Let's start with your UI. The following are some very useful options and settings that, look, I'll be honest, can't remember what's on by default, so let's just go through them all. Now, I'm not talking about graphics here. The only thing you need to know with sound is some of the bosses actually have attacks that are cued by a voice line. So the dialogue volume is pretty important. Other than that, there's not really anything to talk about in sound. So what we're doing is go escape, options, UI, and I'll show you what is very useful and why. Don't really care about camera rotation, it's just visual. This is something that I find reduces screen clutter. If you untick enable quest tracking, it'll get rid of this giant thing, because these don't go away for a long time, and I feel like that's a fair bit of screen space. If you like the corner map, you can use it. I like it. I don't often leave this map up, purely for the viewer's sake. Auto center map is very useful. So if you press tab to look at this map and say it's a heist and it's really long and wide and you need to look at what the rewards are. If you press tab again, I'm just using the arrow keys by the way. If you press tab again, it will center your character under your character's mark. So, this thing, sorry. So yeah, I find that very useful. Now landscape transparency, you can mess around with these settings. This shows you like outlines of stuff. You can make the map really big. I prefer it like this, just gives you the outline of the map. Always highlight. So if you turn that off, you won't see waypoints and chests. So if you're not picking up chests, I find it useful to see where waypoints are, to see where nameplates are on characters. So if you're looking for what's her tits, Lani, and you can't find her, that is more helpful, I find. Now, always show sockets is very useful because it lets you know what sort of sockets are on your items, which, you need to know this while you're messing around with them, while you're using them and upgrading them. So I find that just saves you a whole mess of time. Full descriptions. It's useful if you know what the prefixes and suffix like names are for your items. So for example, you need to drop something that we can actually see. So let's say you drop a whole bunch of stuff here, right? Gloom Razor Gutting Knife. Get rid of that. Save it. So when I put my mouse over this, we don't see anything. You don't see any information about it. If I go to Options UI, turn on Show Full Descriptions, when I hover over this, it will show me at a glance if it's useful or not. Wow, that is actually really good for chaos damage. If I ID'd this jewel and chucked it on the ground, you can see what it's got on it. Damage over time, bleed, cool. So yeah, very actually useful. Very actually useful. Show life and mana levels. So see how this text is now visible? This text is now visible. That's if you're one that likes to read it like that. Otherwise, you can just hover over it to bring it up. Flask buffs is whether or not when you use a flask, it will show up here. I find it useful as it gives you a length of time that it will be lasting for. So I know I've got 4 or 5 seconds left. 1. Aura, exactly the same. So if I've got Herald of Ash and Clarity going on, whether that's there or not. Now I hide global trade all that crap. I don't show any of that because I play SSF. If you need to see global chat or trade chat, you can just tick it and save that and it'll show up on the left side here. Now, mini life bars, one of the most important things that I have found, because quite often there's these tiny little enemies and you've got big walls in your face and you can't actually see where they are around you. Just to give you a visual aid, it only shows up when you start damaging things. So see those little life bars there for really small enemies, or even just like these guys. Sometimes you don't know if something's chasing you. Having those health bars is very, very useful. Your own life bar, for if you don't look at the corners, if you're watching your character very intently, this thing's I find it very helpful, whether or not you want that there. Ally names, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. You can have an in-game clock down here. Again, personal preference. I don't really want it there. Now, remove only tabs in a non-league league, if that makes sense. In just regular SSF, hardcore, or just softcore. It'll show up these tabs from a league that has ended. So basically, if you finish the heist league, you'll have a bunch of items in a remove only tab that you can transfer then to your normal league. So SSF, hardcore, or softcore, or whatever. Non-heist. We'll call it non-heist. Now put dialogue to chat. That's if you want to see what they're saying in chat. I'm talking NPCs here. All right, advanced mod descriptions. Now this is where it gets a little sexy. So this is unticked. So if you, little trick here, if you press Alt, you can see, so it's eye level 62. There are certain modifiers that can't roll on an item until it's eye level 75 or eye level 80, I think it's 82 or 83. So if you're getting into the crafting side of things, tick advanced mod descriptions and it'll show you something different. So see how it says suffix modifier of the worthy, tier 2, reduced attributes. That is a suffix. You now know that you have 3 free prefixes and 2 free suffixes. Or if you're looking at my weapon here, you can see that I've used 2 prefixes and 3 suffixes. So it's got an open prefix. If we were to use an exalt on it, it would fill a prefix 100%. So very useful for crafting. It also tells you what tier your mods that you've rolled are. So tier 6, tier 8, tier 1, tier 8, rank 2. That is an indicator of how high the numbers can be. So tier 1 obviously being the best. Auto equip, that's if your inventory is blank. If you aren't wearing gloves and out in the map you pick up gloves, it's going to automatically put it on that slot. Pretty straightforward. Now I've unticked mouse wheel zoom because there's no point for me to do this. I don't need to do that. And if they've bound a button to that mouse wheel and you accidentally, when you're trying to use a skill, no, not in hardcore. No, thank you, sir. So I've unticked that. Confine mouse wheel to window. If you untick this, you will then be able to mouse over to another screen. That's up to you if you've got multiple screens. I have a screen on either side and I do not want to be losing my mouse when I'm in the middle of a fight. So tick that shit. Support gem utility pop-up. Okay, it'll tell you basically what gems those support gems will support. So if I take out custom damage taken, see these little active skills there? That says Ancestral Protector, it will not support. Blade Blast, it will. Blade Fall, it will. Clarity, no. Yes, no, yes, no. So if you tick that, if you untick that and you hover over this, it won't tell you what it supports. So that's a useful little diagram to, if you're still learning skills, it'll tell you what it's going to be useful against. Default loot allocation, by the way, is for multiplayer. So when items drop specifically for one player or another, short allocation means if the one player doesn't really want it or doesn't pick it up in time, the other players can just clean it up. Or you can have free for all, everything's available to everyone forever. Or permanent allocation, which is if something drops for one player specifically, it's only ever able to be picked up by them. Level down scaling is also for multiplayer. It explains it in there. Chat font size, that's explained. In the input window, this is where you can change all your bindings and stuff. I personally have changed a few things. My mouse has 2 buttons on the side. I have bound skills to that. So down here, M4 and M5 are these two mouse buttons, as opposed to having them on QWERT. So I've got QW, the two mouse buttons, and R. But on flasks, I actually have spacebar bound as my 5th slot. So this one, the mana potion. And that's because it's much easier to press 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that's where your thumb sort of sits, rather than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or pressing it to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all at once. Rather than. So that's all the basic UI stuff. I'm not sure what's enabled by default, but you can just sort of follow mine if you would like. This leads me to the next part. The next most important thing is a loot filter. Oh my word, if you're not using a loot filter, I will strangle you. Okay? Okay. Now, I'm going to quickly run you through how to grab the most basic loot filters, and I'm going to show you why they are so important. Holy crap. Don't miss this bit. So let's say that you've just completed a blight map. A blighted map where there's a whole lot of loot. Now I'm going to show you why a loot filter is absolutely necessary. It will show you everything that you want it to show you and hide all the rest of the crap. So this is what it looks like at the end of a blighted map. This is a low level blighted map, but there's a fair bit of stuff here to pick up. Now this is with a loot filter on. If we turn our loot filter off or down to low, this is on strict. This is about the middle of the pack. If we go to default, this is what it looks like. Whole lot of like, can you pick stuff out of there very easily? Even if we just go to Filterblade, like, is that useful for you? Does that help? Isn't that a lot easier to look at? Very strict. Look at that. Much cleaner. So let's go through and I'll show you how to grab all of these filters for your friggin' sake. If you need to realign where your loot is, because there's a lot of stuff, you've been picking up things and you need to realign it so that when you click on this one, for example, it doesn't run you around like that. If you press Z and Z again, it will actually reset them to where their location is currently. It sort of like cleans up the filter a little. All right. So head on over to filterblade.xyz. It is not a virus site, right?
Ah! That is not a small number. That is a big number. Computer over. Virus equals very, yes. That's not a good prize. Oh.
And basically, these are the tabs that you want to go. So overview, this will give you a preview of what your filter looks like. So this is the general sort of filter that everyone goes for by default. But once you start to understand the game more, once you know what you're looking for, you can actually customize it. So you can head over to customize. Let's look at enchanted items. I want enchanted helmets to show up with a different background color. I want it to be black with green text, or black with red text, or something like that. You can customize every single type of drop. You just click on it and update it. For the most part, since you're probably going to be just starting out, all you really want is to go to this, click on download, and this will explain how to do everything. Save your unsaved customization. So you go to this tab, save it, download the filter, click on this button. It will be called Filterblade, or you can name it whatever you want. Ball bags anon. Anan. Ball bags anon. You move it to this folder. So go to your C drive, whatever your user profile is, documents, games, PoE. Put the text file in there, and then go into PoE. Press escape. Options. UI. Scroll right to the bottom, list of item filters, click the down arrow, select ball bags anon, and it will apply. Basically, that's if you're going to do it custom. If you want all the other stuff, just download all the strictness levels. Go as single files. Download ball bags anon 1, 2, 3. Oh no, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These will get you through. These will be enough for you. And that's all you got to do. Your loot will be filtered now. So look, Uber plus strict. There you go. So I'm going to go ahead and just briefly show you 5 different websites that are also very useful that you'll probably use quite often. So first was Filterblade. This is where you create your loot filter. We already went through that, so I'll skip through that. The next one's called PoeLab.com. This is a refreshed daily guide to the labyrinth layouts for the trials and the lab. So basically, if you click on, I want to do Uber Lab today. If you click on Uber Lab, it will show you the layout for Uber Lab. Also show you where the dark shrines are, where the bosses are, the gauntlets, the puzzles, where to get keys. So there's a legend there. It'll show you. So you go to there, you go to there, go there, and then it'll tell you the phases for the boss. Very, very useful. So best way to sort of bead your way through Lab and get all the dark shrines while you're at it. It also has cheat sheets and databases on different things. So the Syndicate, for example, the div cards, boss guides, it's got a whole bunch of stuff. The Syndicate is one I use a lot, because it tells you what results, what rewards that these characters will give you. So if you wanted to look at what It That Fled gives you, it'll tell you what they give you in each different area. So if you put It That Fled into research, upgrade breach stones. Very, very useful. So number of thumbs equals useful. Basically, don't use guff. Next up, PoeDB. Now this is a database for prefixes, suffixes on any item pretty much. So if you had a pair of Intel gloves, let's say, and you wanted to know how to get chaos damage over time on it, you can scroll down and it will show you all of the prefixes and all of the suffixes that can show up on it. So if I control F and type in chaos, by default, you can't get chaos damage over time. But if I go down to the elder suffix, you can get chaos damage over time multiplier. This will tell you need an elder enchant on your Intel gloves in order to get chaos damage over time multiplier. So you can look through, you can also get hunter, will give you chaos damage over time. And it also shows you that it's going to come up under the suffix. So you need an open suffix for that to be rolled. But basically, this is a very, very useful way to see that it's good for crafting. I know all these numbers are pretty confusing. If you click on that number, it will show you the name of the suffix. So when you roll that on your item, it will be, what are they called? Sorcerer's Gloves of the Elder will be chaos damage over time multiplier. That is that name. This is also the eye level of the item required to be able to roll this modifier. So the eye level of your Elder Enchanted Sorcerer Gloves, Intel gloves, would need to be eye level 68 in order to roll this modifier. You cannot roll this modifier if it's below 80. So once it hits 80, if it's 83 for example, you then will be able to roll this multiplier. And next up, there's lots of different trade websites. I have not really dealt with trade, but if you are in a trade league, you can get the codes for a weapon or an item, sorry, and basically whisper someone in chat and they'll send a response, join in a party, all good. So yeah, there's plenty of trade websites. And then finally there's PoeNinja, Poe.Ninja. I'll put all the links to these down below. This one, it can show you the economy of the game pretty much. It's like a stock page in a way. So you can look at oils and you can see how much gold oil is kind of worth. It gives you stats for the last 7 days. So if you are selling or buying golden oil, it gives you a general basis for how much it's worth pretty much. Looks like crimson oil's really bottomed out. There you go. Maybe you could buy in. Maybe you're a stock exchanger and you like this sort of shit. But the other part is you can also look at different builds on PoeNinja. Oh, again, very confronting. It's like, oh, that's information. If you want to look at necromancer builds, you can look at the top build and see what sort of keystones they're using. What's their life? What's their DPS? Or showing you their main DPS gem. So basically, what are they using to get all their damage? So for necromancers, the main damage is raised spectre for the most part. So you could look up a spectre build, try and find your own character. You can see what streamers are using. Quinn is rocking a flicker strike slayer, using resolute technique called arms. So it gives you ideas for what sort of builds people are using, what's sort of popular, what's working well for people. So if you click on that search, the little magnifier, it'll actually show you what items they're using, and it gives you a basic layout of their tree, which is pretty neat. Shows you their skill setup. So all the information you could probably ever need is all up in here. So I really hope that's given you a little bit of insight into how to set up all your stuff, what websites to use, extra little programs, filters, all your settings. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Make sure you do give it a thumbs up, chuck a comment if there was anything I missed, or if there's anything you want to check out or more information. or drop in the Twitch stream when I'm live. So thank you for being here and look after yourselves.